Welcome to another episode of What to Say and How to Say It. I'm Nina Roesner, and today we have some really special guests. A lot of times in marriage, you have struggles and you're like, I just need me some hope. Well, you're going to get that in today's episode. Be sure to check out our website at greaterimpact.org. We have a marriage assessment you can take and see if you're a hot mess and what you can do about that, or if you're so good that you should be doing mentoring with us. Just go over and check that out. But now let's get into the interview. Well, one of the things we love to do at Greater Impact is provide hope to people that are struggling. And I can't think of a better way than talking to a couple who have been there, done that, and gotten back on, which you'll learn a little bit about what does that mean in just a moment. But this couple's been through it. They've had their own rodeo in their marriage and family and I mean, they're on the other side of that in a lot of ways. And I think it just does a great thing, a great service to people to see that you can survive difficulties in marriage. And I don't know anybody that's married for longer than 2 years that doesn't have some trouble. Matter of fact, the Bible tells us if you get married, you're going to have trouble. So I want to introduce our beautiful guests today. We have Michelle and Paul LeCompte. They are both doctors of veterinary medicine. Paul is an established surgeon. He is a multi-book author. His wife, Michelle, is actually also a friend of mine. And she's a beautiful horsewoman. She's very talented, and she rides one of the biggest horses at the barn. So that's worth some props there, right there. Just saying. So we're gonna take a little bit of a journey today to discover what it is. Like you guys have a story to tell, and what is that story, and what is get back on? Like what does that even mean?
You want to answer that?
You started.
Well, Get Back On originally was centered around a sculpture that I found, that the Lord led me to in my journey through pretty significant anxiety, centered around my riding, which gives me so much joy. Yet there was this tension about this anxiety. So
Mhm.
the Lord let me squalor in that for a while. And then he led me to this sculpture, and it's a sculpture of Chris Navarro is the man who did it.
Mhm.
It's a sculpture of a horse, the saddle is askew, the cowboy's on the ground rubbing his head.
Oh,
His hat is over to the side and his boot is in the stirrup.
oh.
and it just caught my eye, and the title was Get Back On.
Mhm.
And it was like the Lord was speaking to me in that moment. He said, you got to get back on. And sure enough, under the title, Chris Navarro explains, he says, whether it's a horse or anything, you don't quit, you just get back on. You don't
Mhm.
figure out the next step, you just get back on.
Right.
And so, that was the Lord speaking to me. Okay, Michelle, enough of this. Get back
Mm.
on and just keep, pushing through. And then I realized as I was answering some questions for a magazine article on this, that it pretty much applies to our marriage as well.
Yeah.
We didn't give up. We just kept getting back on,
Hmm.
getting back in the saddle, and next step down the road.
Yeah. Well, and you guys are actually taking a trip, and you're celebrating how many years now?
38,
No.
39, 39.
Yes, 39 years. We'll have a discussion about that later.
Yeah.
And
32
what we
years.
have right here was just a classic marriage moment. And like
It was not
every couple.
staged. It was
No,
not staged.
yeah, not at all. Like, and matter of fact, we even covered this at the beginning. It's all fine. Like, but yeah, so you're going on this trip across the state of Ohio.
Mhm.
You're doing a horseback ride. Tell us a little bit about that. And the anniversary is in the middle of this thing. What's the meaning behind it?
Well, I would like Paul to speak too, but I kind of drug him into this. I was, it all started with my father joking every time I'd call them on, I called him every Sunday, and he would always joke, when are you going to ride your horse here? When are you going to ride your horse here? And I would laugh, but it kind of put a seed in the back of my mind. And then a year and a half ago, we were at Hocking Hills, and I saw a book that caught my eye. It said Finding Joy on Horseback.
Mm.
And so I picked it up, and sure enough, it's this wonderful woman named Joy S. Miller Upton, who had ridden her horse around the state of Ohio, camping along the way. So I realized it could be done because it had been done. I mean, well, she was several decades younger than us at the time, but she did it. So I was originally going to do it by myself, which in retrospect probably wasn't a super smart idea, although she did it by herself.
Yeah.
So Paul.
So I decided that I'm not gonna really I didn't feel comfortable letting my wife, traps across the state unattended at the middle of the night, not knowing where she's gonna be. So one of the sweet parts of marriage, I think, if you play it right, is if you get engaged with the interests of your spouse. So I'm not a horseman. And so through the years with her being a horsewoman, she's challenged me to get into horses a little bit more. And I've been able to go on some really wonderful trips out to South Dakota and experience things I would have never experienced, and fish places that I would never fish because I get to tag along, not just riding, but fishing. So that's a benefit of getting into her interest. And so it's become my interest by default, and I've had some blessings that I never would have had otherwise. And so I decided that I'm going to tag along with this trip.
Well, and my understanding is you actually are taking riding lessons and have
Yes,
become quite skilled.
well, so my brother's always complaining I'm a cowboy in every part of my life. I just go for things, like do it and don't get any training. Like, let's run a marathon, like hardly any training. Let's do this, let's do that. So when I would ride, I would just barely get by, but now this was a more serious endeavor. So she encouraged me to take lessons with Helga, your guys' mentor, who's phenomenal. And he was like, I think, praying really hard that I would too. So
his words were, Michelle, I'm afraid Paul's going to die.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm getting training and learning way more about horses than I ever dreamed. It's just incredible what there is to know, and the more you know, the more you don't know. It's almost like marriage. The more we know, the less we know, but we have to keep getting back on so that we can turn the next page to figure out there's still more to learn, right?
Yeah. I'm glad you made that analogy because it is so similar. You go into marriage like a 16-year-old kid. Oh, that's great. We got this. And then you get a few seasons under your belt and a few plane crashes, basically relationally. And it's like, we don't know what we're doing and we don't know how to fix it. So you guys have a bit of a story with your relationship. You've been through some fire, we'll say.
Yes.
What lessons, for somebody that's listening to this, what lessons would you say you've learned, and how would you encourage them to stick it out when it's tough?
Why don't you answer?
So I would have to say a few things come to mind. One is that you've got to learn to communicate. And this is true in marriage, it's true in business, it's true with family. You got to learn to talk, and with respect, so you don't attack the person, but you can't be afraid of conflict. If you can't you can't deal with life, because the minute you're born, you're going to have conflict. So you have to learn to communicate, and that's half of life. I think the most successful people in life aren't the ones that have the hard skills per se. That's necessary, but it's not the most important. What most important is the people skills.
Mhm.
Know people that can you speak and can you to how you're feeling and that people also have that ability. So that's important, learning how to speak language together. And then one of the things that takes a really long time to learn, because for us, even recently, we've had periods where we're bickering at each other, and we realize that most of our fights aren't about the issue. Most of the
Right.
fights become about who's right, like who's right, not the issue. And
Yeah.
so I heard in a business setting once someone's a gal say, if you want to be successful in business, do you want to be right or rich?
Right.
And that
Yep.
has
Right.
more application in the marriage relationship. Relationally, do you want to be rich? Then you can't have to always be right.
Hmm.
So that to me was really important about our marriage. And then there's a spiritual part of it. Like we we just knew that we to quit to quit was it wasn't an option. So we only had two options. If we weren't going to quit, we could live miserably and just have a business relationship ultimately,
Hmm.
or we could change and grow and work on ourselves. And early on, we started to recognize that we were each broken and we were messed up, and we had to own that.
Hmm.
We read a book by the Smalleys, and he called it I don't know how I came up with this term. I think it was from the book that said we have our own bag of rocks, and we got to identify those bag of rocks. And a lot of times they come from our childhood and how we were raised and how we adapted and learned how to survive, right? And some of
Yep.
those are really good habits and some of them are bad, but we have to own the bad ones and then give each other permission as we're working through our problems when those bags of rocks were preventing us from moving forward.
Hmm.
For example, mine was like pride, pride and being respected, and so that would get in the way when it's unhealthy of moving forward, right? And she
Yeah.
has a really super sensitive heart and soul, so she sometimes would take criticism in a way that wasn't meant. So
Hmm.
and her values. So we had those were our bags of rocks that we
Yeah.
then gave each other permission to talk about if we had to move forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And you guys were actually in business together. You know, Paul, you have the extra special brain of an entrepreneur, which comes with a little crazy and drama and long nights, long days, and that's a whole added level of stress. But a lot of our listeners are in that, entrepreneurs, business owners, that kind of thing. And then you add the family business element to it, you
Mhm.
know, it's added stress for the marriage.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And raising our kids was particularly challenging. The entire time. We weren't having totally normal circumstances. So it really took Michelle's ability as a woman running a family to compensate for my really strong weaknesses as a parent. And she did a remarkable job doing it. Also, she encouraged me a lot. I was at
Mhm.
the beginning, even though I was entrepreneurial, I had fears, and she'd say, "You can do it. You can do it. There's nothing to stop you from doing this." And so I need that. It's like, wow. So
That's
that can't
great.
ever be discounted. That especially men need to be encouraged by their wife, and
Yeah.
you know, you've heard it said cliche. I don't know where it came from, but a man will win a war for his wife, and that's kind of what you do. You like, I want her, I want her affirmation more than anybody else's in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true for most married men. They really want their wives to be their number one fan. And it's exhausting and difficult when you're raising kids and he's gone and you're also working. And then on top of that, you had some health issues that really made this even more challenging. Do you want to add some wisdom around that? Because that's an extra monkey in the wrench there.
Yeah. Yes. I battled, oh gosh, it took them over 10 years to even diagnose what my health issues were. They were just so nondescript and kind of like I was a crazy person.
Oh.
And it was my father actually that finally put it all together after about 10 years of going to all these doctors. He ran a bunch of lab tests, and then he called me. He said, "Hey, Michelle, you need to go to a rheumatologist like now." And after like 10 years of all this, I went to the rheumatologist. Paul was there with me, handed her the lab work. She looks at it, she goes, "Yep, you've got lupus."
Oh.
So so yes, that was a challenge because um it affected my kidneys, it affected like my platelets, it affected, my joints. So it wasn't anything my kids could see on the outside, but I know that it was hard for them,
Mhm.
feeling like they had to take care of their mom, which was really not a place that they should have had, that they should have been in. So yes, Paul was gone a lot. He was, doing what you have to do to make it.
Yep.
So I had a lot of shortcomings when it came to being a parent. There were days when I was just like, "Mommy has to go in the closet
I need
and,
to lay down.
and lay down, be
Yeah.
quiet."
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's excruciatingly like there's a lot of pain involved with
yeah,
lupus.
there
You're
was.
exhausted all the time.
Yes, all of
It's
that. And I couldn't even, at the height of it, like even going outside in the sun was painful. And
oh.
so all of my activities that give me joy,
Hmm.
gardening and being with the horses, at that time I wasn't riding because of the kids. And but we had animals, and we had a horse for the girls, we had chickens. So all those things required being outside. So I'd be covered head to toe going out, doing the chores.
Yeah.
Um, but you get through it. But praise the Lord, I have been in remission off all medications for now over 10 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, better health than I've ever been. And whew, that is, I can't credit anybody but the Lord for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a nice place. And that puts strain on a marriage too. Health conditions add
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of, but nobody escapes this. We all age. Things
Yeah.
happen to all of us. And we signed and said for better for worse, right?
Mhm. Yes. Yes.
And we struggle with our intimacy life just because of, um, I had a problem with pornography, and that had to be dealt with. So I came into marriage with some issues there. Michelle had
Mhm.
her own set of issues that we weren't even aware of, kind of are still unfolding. And so that played heavily on it, some of our frustrations. But if you could say, if someone asked me what was the greatest victory
Mhm.
in my life, playing sports and business and all, things that the world might think would be the greatest things that could say were wins, so to speak.
Mhm.
Um, Nothing compares to where we are in our relationship today. And that's just not, I'm not just doing lip service because she's sitting here. It's because of the journey is falling off so many times and getting back,
Yeah.
Yeah.
being in the closet crying, thinking, I don't think this could ever work out. How are we going to move next forward? Like there seemed like there could never be a breakthrough. But then standing on the other side and saying, well, we still have our issues, but where we are is so wonderful.
Mm.
That's the victory. And every day we still have new challenges that arise that sometimes they come from within, but sometimes they're totally external that you can't control,
Right.
but still impact you as a couple.
Mhm.
We're going through some right now as we speak regarding some of our family. And so it doesn't ever end. But man,
Right.
I tell you, you know, I I remember I remember when I was battling the pornography, some experts saying, "Oh, if you do this, there's light at the end of the tunnel." And I was like, "There's no way you can ever." gain victory over this, but you can if you just
Mhm.
keep going. Now, I will caution. Recently, our daughters were in, and we had some kind of discussion about finances or how hard it is for them, and they said they were like they didn't. We were very frustrated with us because they're like, "Oh, you guys are so what are we? Baby boomers. You're so baby boomers." Because that's your answer. Just get back on. Like, just do it, right? They hate that. Who's the Dave
Ramsey?
Ramsey's, you
Yeah.
know, he's the same guy with the finances. Just
Yeah,
do it.
yeah,
Keep going to
yeah.
dead. So they're like,
Nike commercial.
yeah,
Yeah, just do it.
just do it.
Right.
You're so much like Dave Ramsey. We can't stand that. So,
Okay.
but it's true. I
It
mean,
is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is absolutely no way to change without getting back on and doing the thing you're not great at
Right,
until you figure it out and get better at it. That's
right.
the only way. It is the only way. And yeah, okay, the 20 and 30 somethings can complain about it all they like. And I'm a Gen Xer myself, but just saying, there is no other way. So they're going to have to get over it. They're just going to learn it later, I think, because they're in a big resistance of that.
Oh, yeah.
It's reality. So the hard thing here, you know, with marriage is that people look at it like it's a throwaway relationship. They don't respect the covenant that they have with the Lord. And can you talk a little bit about you talked early on today about how you had two choices, you know, and but the big choice was that we don't really have a choice because we're following Christ. Like that was you were in this. That's obvious. So can you talk about your relationship with God and who he is to you and how that's grown and impacted your marriage?
I'll start with me, I guess.
Yeah.
Me personally, I did not have a religious upbringing, but I never remember not having the Lord. I just, he was ever present,
Mm.
and I cannot explain it. He was, I had, you know, a little bit difficult upbringing. We were very poor. But my father was working hard and my mom was working hard and they were doing the best they can. But I always remember just that he was there. I can't even explain it. When I was about 10, when we moved to a town, we did a lot of moving around as well. So I didn't have friends because we were moving so much. And I had brothers, an older and a younger. So couldn't really, you can't do girlfriend things with your brothers. So it was me and the Lord or whatever animal I had to communicate with at the time. Oftentimes squirrels, but
That's still a thing.
yes, it's still a thing.
That's awesome.
When we moved to a small town, where my parents actually they live now, Gallipolis, Ohio. We lived downtown and I was able to walk myself to church. And I did, and I took myself to multiple denominations. Do not discriminate on the denomination so long as you believe in Christ. That's all that,
Yeah.
really matters. So he just has, if you definitely looking back on my life, it's just you know, meeting Paul, I know even with all the difficulties that the Lord met me to meet Paul. He was denied. I did something better than him. I got into vet school first time. And he applied the year before me and didn't get in.
Oh,
And so he
oh,
came in my class. He's actually
yeah.
a year ahead of me, but
Uh-huh.
then he ended up in the same class as me. And that I know that was the Lord's design. He was he was a Casanova,
yeah. Is that why you didn't totally ignore me for the entire first
Yes,
semester?
yes,
Wouldn't
yes.
wouldn't even give me a time of day.
Well, because he was trying to sit next to a new woman every single
What's-
day. Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
No.
But anyway, I digress. Um, I know that we, even with all of our difficulties, and Paul was not a believer at the time. I was a believer. I've never not been a believer. I definitely strayed in my college years, and but I came back once we were married, and I started going to church by myself with the girls and I never harassed him about it. I just kept doing it. I knew that I needed, the Lord. I mean, I can't tell you what this major decision I've ever made that the Lord hasn't been there to direct me.
Mm.
I mean, I just can't even imagine a life without him.
Mhm. No, I
So,
love this.
yeah.
It's an unfortunate thing, but one of the questions that I get frequently is, should I take my kids to church? My husband doesn't want to go. He doesn't want me going. He doesn't want me taking the kids. Should I go anyway? And I think the answer is always yes.
Yes, but
Somebody
you
needs
don't.
to lead that.
Yeah, yes, but you don't harass him about it.
Exactly.
You just take him
Yep.
and go.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
So good for you for doing
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, and my path was different. I was raised in a Catholic family, and both my parents were devout Catholics until the day they passed, each passed. And I got the foundation, and the
Yeah.
scripture says, train them up in the way they should go, and then we'll return to it, something like that. So I I saw them in their marriage fighting it out and battling when they had issues. And so I saw the template of what to do for my parents.
Mhm.
Um, and I became a prodigal, and so I knew the Lord. I had known the blessings of his answered prayer as a kid that were really cool. But my story is um too long to go into the details, but the brief story is that I became a prodigal because I couldn't live in the two worlds, and I
Mhm.
chose poorly and chose to believe that he didn't exist, agnostic really. And then through the beatdown of life in my mid 30s with a with a broken relationship with my wife and hardly any money at that time of our career and just struggling in every aspect of my life. I just got to the end of myself in a business setting, and I said a prayer for the first time in 20 years, and the Lord arrived and answered my prayer, and had been courting me all the long time that I had been denying him. He had been sending people into my life, and
Mhm.
events were orchestrated definitely by him to get me to a point, and part of that was meeting Michelle. And if we were in front of counselors back then when we were thinking of getting married, and they looked at the two of us and said, "You better run from each other as far as you can, because you two are too messed up to get together." But the
Aw.
Lord had other plans,
Yes.
and both of us had the template of our parents. And so what happened is, once I came back to the Lord, then it wasn't all perfect, but we then started to both go on our spiritual journey separately and together.
Mhm.
So we were both in the Word all the time, and we have been ever since. So one of the greatest blessings in the world is having a prayerful wife, number one, and a wife who knows Scripture. So I'm always like, Michelle, tell me where this is, and help me with this. And she just says she's read the Bible from front to back about 25 times. I'm on about 3 or 4, but she's such a wealth of knowledge for me and to help me. We've studied separately and
Mhm.
we studied together, and that is our, like I say to people, imagine if God could give you like a manual on how to do life. He did. It's called the Bible. It just tells you what to do.
Yeah.
That's what we follow, and all of our struggles. We say, well, what's the next thing that we should do based upon God's word?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think it's in alignment with that you made a decision to learn how to ride horses so that you could be with and protect your wife while she does this trip. That's astonishing.
It is. He gets a lot of credit for being willing to do this. I
I
guess
love
he really
that.
does want to keep me around.
Maybe, yeah, yeah.
I got to really earn that cowboy designation from my brothers. I got to get that
Well, I
cowboy
think this
hat.
will classify you as that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell us about the trip. Like, where are you going? What's it look like?
Well, we're starting from our house here in Clarksville, and our final destination is my parents' property in Gallipolis, Ohio. They live on 27 acres, and I don't know if you've ever heard of Grandma Gatewood.
Nope.
Anyways, she walked all around Ohio and marked trees with blue blazes. And part of
Okay.
she's pretty famous. She's written
Okay.
a book around here. She's famous. Um, and she walked the back of my parents' property. And the blue blazes were there. Now I haven't been to the back of my parents' property in over probably 40 years. So I'm sure the blue blazes are gone, but yeah, that's one of the things I want to get my mom back there because nobody's been to the back of that property, and it's just it's a beautiful piece of property. But anyways,
How many acres is your property?
it's 27 acres. Yeah. So, and they live on the very front half, and it's in southeastern Ohio is very hilly, very hilly.
Mhm.
So they live
Yeah.
on very steep hill, and the rest of the property is even higher elevation. So, it's really only accessible by horseback.
That's awesome.
We will find out.
Yeah, you will. So how many miles is this from your house?
It's 105 miles as a crow flies, right?
Okay.
When we drive it, it's a 2 hour and 20-minute drive. So what we're doing is we take the map, Michelle ordered the county maps for each
Mhm.
that we're going to go through, and they're all to scale. So it's really great. So we can line them up, and we take the phone GPS and we look at the topography from the satellite to see what it really is. Where's the river? And we put together, and I drew a straight line if we were going a straight line, and then we kind of map out where we think we can go. And the first half part of the trip is mostly farmland and should be easier to negotiate, but there are towns where there can be some pretty big highways, and there's the Scioto River. So we're going to work it out where we probably get help in two areas where someone will
Okay.
come up with a trailer and trailer this over to major highway. And we're going to try to cross the Scioto River because in September it may not be too deep, but we'll have to see, play that by ear. And we've just marking out each part of each leg where literally what will go, what road. And my biggest concern when Helga keeps asking me, what do you need to know about now? What's your concern now? And that's like, mine are fences, well, roads, cars, and fences that we can't negotiate, dogs.
Yes.
Maybe angry farmers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
We'll have money with us.
Well,
We will bribe.
yeah. Well, what's funny, we bought a farm a couple of years ago, and there's trails all over the place that I haven't been on just yet because my horse and I are building our confidence here now. And I took him off property, went on my neighbor's who's got it's a field, big old soybean field. And then there were dogs, and I thought, oh, I don't know what to do. And so that became a question at lesson. I just stood there for a moment, and I didn't want to ignite the prey drive in the dogs. So we just it's all good. We're gonna go now. And then one of the things I've said is that I was planning on baking a bunch of banana bread and putting it in my saddlebags, and just if I ran into people that were angry, I'd hand them banana bread.
Well, maybe you just gave me an idea. Maybe we should carry beef jerky.
Oh,
Throw
for
it to the dog.
dogs. Yeah. There you go.
Just
Make a
gave me a
friend.
brilliant idea.
There you go. Better friends than enemies, right? There you
Yes,
go.
yes.
Oh my goodness. So so there's treachery ahead. How many days of this are you doing?
Well, we have, and this is if everything goes according to plan, which
Right.
is, I can't believe that it will, but we have planned out 7 nights, 8 days.
Okay.
And we have each stop planned out along the way. There are 2 fairgrounds that are allowing us to stay. The Highland
Mhm.
County Fairground and Pike County Fairgrounds are allowing us to stay. There's a couple of horse camps. There's a state park that we're going to ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Uh-huh.
Um, and small little western town called Dogwood Pass, where it's like a recreation of an old western town. They're allowing us to stay in their bunkhouse.
Nice.
Yeah, and so, and then the final stop will be at Bob Evans Farms in Rio Grande. That'll be the final night.
Mhm.
And they don't normally allow people either, but my dad happened to be Bob Evans' physician for a while, so
There you go. There you go. So, do you have like an entourage that's going with you stop to stop, or are you just like packing a sleeping bag and hoping for the best? Like, what, how are you
we're,
doing? Food?
we're
There's a
doing a
lot.
little bit of both.
Okay.
Houston, Helga's son, has agreed to when we want to go across the large highways, he's going to trailer us.
Oh, nice.
So for safety's sake, for
Yep.
everybody. The cars and for our horses and for ourselves. He's agreed to that. And then I have a cousin who is retired and not married and is just really wants to be part of this journey. Dick Houck is his name. And so he's willing to just meet us wherever, if we make our designated locations, if we don't, bring us, because we obviously can't carry enough hay for the horses
Oh,
with,
that's right.
so that'll be, the major thing is getting food for the horses,
Mhm.
and water if we need it. Most of the time, I think we'll have water access for the horses, and then food if we need it. But we will be prepared. We'll have a tent, a small little butane cooker, freeze-dried food,
Yep.
protein bars, beef
Mhm.
jerky now
Okay.
for the dogs.
I saw a small coffee maker.
Oh yeah, coffee. Yes, yeah. Well, no, it's not a coffee. It's just we'll boil the water and pour it over. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
So
like, as long as I get my coffee.
yes,
Yeah.
caffeine. Yes,
Yes. Amen, sister. Like, I get this.
yes.
That's awesome. So, what is it you are writing for? What's the message that you're trying to send through this trip?
For myself, it started out, for me, it was the next step in my journey battling my anxiety. So it's like, okay, I get back on. The Lord told me to get back on. And so I was like, well, yes, okay, I get back on. I've really conquered a lot of that anxiety, but I was like, well, I wanted to push myself, a little further. And this is a pretty big push, especially for someone our age. So, and then yeah, don't quit living just because you've gotten older.
Mhm.
Have fun. And then, and the fact that Paul's going to be joining me, I mean, this is an adventure that even if we don't make it all the way, we will have tried.
Mhm.
And we will talk about it probably the rest of our lives. Even if we, have dementia, we'll remember this, I'm pretty sure. And
Well,
so many people have come along, Helga and, everybody is, got our backs. It's kind of cool,
it
that
is
all the
cool.
people that have come around,
Mhm.
and are excited about it. Now, my mom thinks, she's my mom. She's not so excited about
She thinks you have dementia now.
it. She does. So
I mean, I don't know this woman, but I can see that being a
yeah, she's
possibility.
not too thrilled about it.
Yeah.
So, but other
And
than
you'll be,
that,
go
So
ahead.
yeah.
I don't know when this became a thing in our relationship, but Michelle uh, always she started quoting Helen Keller, and one of her famous quotes is that life is a daring adventure or nothing at all.
Yeah.
So we kind of adopted that as our little, not our biblical theme, but our non-biblical, our secular theme. Life's a daring adventure or nothing at all. And really, what Jordan Peterson says the story of Abraham's about. It's a call to the adventure. You got to
Yes.
get out of your home, and you got to do the adventure thing. And so this is it. In different stages of our lives, we've had different adventures that we're called to. I don't like to public speak, but then I have a consulting business, and sometimes I public speak now, and I have to do all kinds of stuff to get over that fear. Now, as I get older, believe it or not, surgery is more scary than when I was young. I know more. And so it's really weird. Someone might say, "What's that mean? You've been doing it now for 38 years. How can it be scarier?" For some reason it does. It is. It's a little more scary, harder to attempt new things. So I think we just continue to have to push the envelope on our comfort level, relationally, in our relation, spiritually, and in just the fun things of life. And we're going to help hopefully give more exposure to greater impact, because you guys you're a ministry that we want to kind of highlight and support on this trip.
Well, I love
You're
the
doing
fact.
such important things for marriage,
Well, yeah, we push people into spaces they don't want to go. You guys are going into a space, that is a challenge for you too. You've been through those spaces in your marriage. So it's really a lovely thing to be sponsoring and be partnering with you on this. I think it's also appropriate to quote our trainer, Helga Buflad from Helga's Horse Training in Waynesville, who says life begins at the end of your comfort zone.
Yes,
So we want to make sure we put that
that is
little
very true.
prop out there. Yeah, I had lesson last week, or maybe it was this week, and we were doing something with a barrel, and it was terrifying.
Yesterday. It was
Oh,
yesterday.
yeah, on a hillside. And at the end of it, after my heart stopped beating in my throat, I looked at him and I said, "I can't believe I give you money for this. Like, show up on Thursdays to be terrified with friends."
It's true.
But the neat thing about that is you grow into a space where you can, like, I love the fact that I can ride my horse on my property by myself.
Right.
And I love the fact that you guys are taking horses on other people's property. I'll be praying for your safety. Um, but you've got great horses and you've put the time, and it's like your marriage. You've got a great marriage now. You've put the time and the effort into your horses, into your marriage, and here you are doing something beautiful, representing Christ and the great adventure it is to follow him. So we'll be sure to be keeping up with you on the trail. And maybe after it's over, we'll have you back and talk about this great adventure and what happened and some of the highlights from the moment.
Yeah.
We'll be doing this again.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Nina.
Thank you for coming. Again, this is Michelle and Paul LeCompte. Be sure to check the info here on the podcast and at YouTube. We'll have links to Paul's books, and you can donate here at greaterimpact.org. Have a great rest of your day. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll keep you updated on the successful event this trip will be.